This conference will now be recorded.
Hey, good morning. So we'll get started. So let me log into my portal.azure.com first. dev.azure.com. Can you see my screen, Saul? Under this? Hello? Can you see my screen? You are on mute, Saul, if you're talking. Hello? Hello, am I audible? Saul, can you see my screen? Hello? Okay, okay. Not able to hear it. That's all. Okay, let me continue. No, I'm not able to hear you. Shall I continue?
This conference will now be recorded.
So yesterday we were facing the issue, right? You know, so in our online we added that new repo, right?
Yeah.
For this, the only difference that no, and then we were finding that path issue, right? It was
Yeah.
clearly telling me that the project doesn't exist. The project file .cs project file doesn't exist basically. Okay, so and then I was trying to figure out, this is the issue that we were getting. File doesn't exist. So I know that it is clearly a path issue. I I got it similar issues earlier as well, but this
Yeah.
is a little strange this time. So what I did was I was just comparing my previous projects and here. Okay, the only difference I made is I have this Docker file, right? I manually added this Docker file outside of this folder basically. Inside we have this Docker file, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So let me open in another tab the same one.
The code whichever is there in that file is not wrong, right? It is correct.
It is correct only. Okay, let me
Okay.
open site. Let me put inside this. Now this is a inside Docker file, right?
Yeah.
The code. And let me here. Let me put the outside Docker. So it's a pure admin. As I told you earlier, I mean, there is nothing to do with the developer with this work basically. Okay, there is no
Okay.
link. It's external file, you can say. Okay, so you can see everything is same. I mean, I just moved. I just copy pasted here basically. You can see here. Okay, everything. Okay. And then here. Okay. Yesterday I was trying to make this path changes, etc. So
Yeah. Yeah.
let's see. And then, okay. Correct. So I copied this outside. How I did was as an administrator. So I just went here. I mean, I want to show you guys that one. If you click here right on top of the repository, then you basically on the root basically, you guys can go here and add a new file. Okay. and then give the same name. Dockerfile. You should not rename it actually. It has to be same. Dockerfile.
Okay.
Just create a name. Let me add like this. Something like okay. Okay, and then copy paste all that code. I did not save. That's what it is saying. Okay, you
Mm.
just need to copy paste that this code here into that one. That's it. Just admin activity basically. Okay.
Okay.
That's the only thing. I just moved it here. My previous project also like that. Looks like I did couple of, I mean, what is a couple of options. Uh, but this worked actually because of path issues. Even if you go to Jenkins and let us say if you use Jenkins, etc. Uh, Anyways, this file will be created separately by the by the administrators basically. Okay. Earlier I was adding it part of this Docker, part of the project. Okay.
Okay.
But now I made it outside of that project basically. Uh, okay. Anyways, it is not related to your developer. Okay.
Okay.
And
Not
after that,
developer, but CI/CD. When we are doing this, then we need to create the file.
yeah, we need to create the file. But as I said, I mean, it doesn't affect the code. The reason your code
Okay.
will not care about it basically. Okay.
Okay. This is basically used for this Dockers, right? So maybe.
To create a Docker image basically.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is an
Okay.
external file. Okay.
Okay.
That's right. So that's the only change. When you add a repo, right? You just add a file as I shown you, and then copy the same content to this file. That's it. Okay, it
Okay.
works. And when you go to the pipelines, now we can create a new pipeline now in front of you. Anyways, because explaining this one is difficult than creating. So let me create a new pipeline. So same project, same repo, container, Docker container. Select the Docker container template. Uh, you can select Ubuntu, Linux one, okay. And this is you don't need to change. This is the place where you need to do. We need to use Azure Container Registry, right? I deleted that one because I delete it every time. Otherwise, I'll have to pay basically for it, right?
Okay.
Since I'm using my credit card, it is expensive basically.
Okay.
Right, resource group. Let me give Azure
Uh,
Container Registry.
how much it costs, Purna? Like maybe like I want to do labs now. So
No,
for
you
the
use your free one. You use your
free
free
one,
one.
for 30 days, right? 60 days.
30 days. That is more
Yeah,
than
30
enough.
days.
You will get
Okay.
13,000 rupees credit basically. That's what I'm
Okay.
saying. If you delete after immediately you use it, right?
Yeah.
That credit is enough basically. Because
Okay.
so far what I see, I mean, every month I generally pay 2,000 rupees, 3,000 rupees like that. Okay,
Okay.
because of the
Okay.
labs. Because not only this one, I use it for some other purposes as well. Okay.
Okay.
So, and the cost varies from resource to resource, right? It will clearly show you how much it will cost you, every
Yeah. Yeah.
resource. Okay.
Okay.
Let me give you the registry name. ACR, I would say 11th November, Azure Container Registry. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Same location. I'm going by standard because of the cost. Let it be public. Still, you need a user ID password. You cannot simply do it. Encryption, the default encryption. It will be on container registry is simple because it is nothing like creating a folder, right? To keep your the way we create repos in our SCM. In the same way we create a container registry. So it takes a minute or so. Let me open another tab of this. Okay. We need a Kubernetes as well, Kubernetes cluster. Okay. For the deployment, we will take the image from the Kubernetes container registry and then push it to the, deploy it to the Kubernetes. After
Okay.
that, end users will be able to access it. So you can go and search for Kubernetes. You will get Kubernetes services. Just select it. You will come here basically, and then say create a Kubernetes cluster. Again, the same process. Go and give the names and give the name. I'm giving some AKS. Today I give today's name, 11th November. I don't want to put. I don't want to replicate it in multiple zones because it will cost me. I will put it only one zone one. And then see this Kubernetes, right? It is open source, isn't it? Every month or 2 months they will release a new version, basically. Okay, at least I will see 6 to 7 versions every year. Okay, so you will see the preview, etc. See any open source software, you need to look at the stable versions basically. But these, Azure or AWS, they create the wrappers on top of the open source, right? That's why it become easy for you. So I don't want to take this latest 1.20.9. So I'm going to take 1.19.11, which is a stable version. Okay, how do I know? I basically go and check the Kubernetes website. Everyone, this is a basis, kubernetes.io. This is a website to learn Kubernetes. It's very complicated, it's not easy. Okay, uh, that's the reason these guys also added a tab here, training. Okay, so these are all the people who give the training basically. I mean, these guys are the partners of Kubernetes, as simple as that. So everybody comes here and refer to basically uh, to do the Kubernetes. Okay. So here, as I said, Kubernetes is a cluster, right? Cluster means a group of servers. Okay. So I'm not putting auto scale because auto scale means if there are more number of requests, it automatically increase the number of nodes. Right now, if I put auto scale mechanism, the minimum nodes that it will create is 5 servers, 5 virtual machines under this cluster. Basically, I don't want to do this. It's very expensive for me. I go with manual and I'll. It is saying, hey, go with 3 servers minimum. No, I go with only 2 servers because it's expensive. I'm doing only demo. So node count, I will have 2 servers in my cluster. Node pool. So node pool is nothing but it has given a name to your 2 servers basically. You can see what it is doing. It is creating a 2 Linux servers in this agent pool. Okay, agent node pool. You can see maximum nodes that you can have in a pool is 110 virtual machines or 110 servers. Okay, that you can see. So I am not enabling any scaling because I don't need it basically. Okay. Authentication, I'll go by system assigned managed identity. Okay. So there are concepts in Azure: service principal and system assigned managed entity. Service principal means we will have our user ID, password, etc. But I am using system one actually. Okay. Role based access, obviously I need it. So let it be RBAC enabled. Encryption, you just leave it. So I was explaining your virtual excuse me. Your virtual machine is a modified version of your physical server. Your node or container is a modified version of your virtual machine. So you need to deal with servers, networking, authentication, and all that stuff. How you deal with virtual machine. That's why you see all these options here. Guys, let me take it. Not sure. I'm getting a coffee in the morning only. Okay. So there are two options: KubeNet and Azure CNI. We'll go with the KubeNet network. You don't need to worry. The moment you select, it automatically happens in the backend basically. Okay. It will create a load balancer inside. Okay. And then say integration. Here it is saying, hey, you are creating a Kubernetes cluster, but where do you get the images from? So you can. So we need to specify which container registry you are going to take from this. But I don't want to show it here. You can select the container registry from here. But I want to show you another concept. That's the reason I am not selecting here. Okay. But I need to integrate Kubernetes with the Azure Container Registry. Otherwise, Kubernetes cannot pull the images from container registry. Okay. So next tags review and create. So let it go and create. It will take a couple of minutes. We'll come back to. So our container registry is ready. This is the name of my container registry, ACR 11th November. Okay. Now what I do, I'll go to my pipeline. This one, right? Now in the build an image, let us select the the container registry type is Azure Container Registry. Same thing yesterday whatever we did. Select the same thing, subscription. Select your container registry, build an image. And now the Docker file, select the outside Docker file. That's it. That's the only difference. Okay. No more changes. Okay. And push an image. Again, select the container registry here, Azure Container Registry, subscription, and then select the container registry name, push an image. The image will be created with this name, image name. It's all dynamic. Okay. There are no other changes anywhere. Say save and say queue. I suggest you guys to read these steps uh, when you are practicing. It helps you a lot. What happens in the backend. So see, now it is happening. It's all path issues. Now Docker push is happening. You see, right? Docker push and the image. Okay. Now if it is completed, if I where do I see the repository? You go to this Azure Container Registry, and then on the left hand side you see repositories. You see, earlier it was empty. Now it's created Docker demo November. Okay. So it is as per the policy of naming convention basically. Okay. So let me edit this. Right. So why I come here? So this is the Docker demo number. I took the project name. Okay, and you have to see the click on this repository Docker demo now, and then it will add a tag. This is a build ID basically. It will add a tag. Click this. Yeah, this is the entire. I mean, it is all hash actually. You cannot see what is there. It is a hashed. Okay, means encrypted stuff. Okay, but if someone needs to pull this, image, right? This is the command. Docker pull and the image name. I need this image name basically because I'm going to use it in my CD pipeline. Let it be here. That's okay. Okay.
Puna, one question.
Hmm.
So the one which you're using is a Windows platform, right?
No, I converted right yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, you remember I opened another Visual Studio and then uh, selected the Linux basically,
Okay, I'll check
and
it.
I show the differences as well. If it is uh, for Windows you have a different image, for Linux you have a different image, right? The bluster basically. If you go here,
Okay. So
this is the one.
why did we shift to this one from the .NET?
Yeah, because from Windows to Linux, right? When you see, I forgot to tell you when the start of the meeting basically. So right now your AKS fully supports the Kubernetes clusters with Linux machine.
Okay.
Okay, okay. But the Windows is still in evaluation mode. So I mean I recollected that one when I was creating the CI pipeline basically. When I was creating CI pipeline, I selected Ubuntu, right, which is the
Yes.
Linux. That's where I recollected. Oh, sorry. I mean, I need to change my Docker file basically because right now our AKS supports Linux servers mostly. And if you go to Kubernetes, right, even this vanilla flavor of Kubernetes, it also supports Linux basically. The Windows,
Okay.
Windows support is very minimal. You can go and read here basically. Okay, that's the
Okay.
only reason we selected. We changed it actually. But when you are trying it from your local, because nobody develops on the Linux machines, right? Your .NET or Java, everybody uses Windows machines only, isn't
Yes.
it? So you can run it in the Windows in your local environment. And I told you Docker file is external to your code basically. It is nothing to do with your code, your developer. And I told you
Okay.
in a reality, it is not added by the developer, right? Administrator will
Yes.
add it manually once he has the code in the repository, even in real time as well.
But one more question. So
Hmm.
currently the code was in Visual Studio. So that was a web application, and the image is for the Windows server,
Yeah,
Windows
yeah.
server.
This is a API basically, not even UI. API.
Okay, even for an API, that was a web application that was developed on
Hmm.
using Visual Studio.
Right.
So that need to be deployed on a Windows machine. So the Docker image was Windows earlier.
No, no. Okay.
Now
Whatever
it was
you
shifted to
no,
Unix.
no. Yeah. See, whatever you keep, whatever the instructions you keep here, that will be executed. In Visual Studio, it could see Visual Studio, IntelliJ, or Eclipse. See, every developer uses Windows only because nobody can develop it on Linux or something because we do not have a UI right in other machines. Okay,
Yes.
so when you do it, see in local it will work. Okay, but when you are putting in the production environment like Kubernetes cluster and the production environment, it doesn't support fully Windows, and you never know when it fails basically. That's the reason you need to deploy it on the Linux. You getting me? And if you see in the real time as well, wherever we are going to containers, right? People use ASP.NET Core than the traditional ASP.NET. and it is mostly for the APIs, because APIs is what taking the huge load basically, because all process happens in the API, right? Not in the front
Yes.
end. Front end is only for display, right? Nothing will happen there, even in the architecture wise. Okay,
Okay.
yeah. So that's the reason we moved to Linux. And if you see AKS, when we created the ACS here, AKS cluster, did I specify the operating system of the node? No, right?
No.
It automatically took the Linux. You're getting me? I showed the node pool as well to you here.
Yeah.
So it fully supports not only this, any current systems, right? Current Kubernetes flavors, be it AWS. On AWS, we call it as EKS basically. OCI means
Okay.
Oracle.
My question is, as the code was developed on a Windows application and that was an API, that was something related to web deployment. So how can a web deployment one work on a Unix platform, Linux platform? That was my
No,
question.
no, 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 no. See, your web deployment for your deployment to virtual machines or physical machines.
Yes.
Okay. Docker file is for creating the image, and that image will be used to send it to converted and send it to Kubernetes cluster. You are not using web deployment here. Did I use here web deployment? I use a I simply created a, if you go to pipeline, I simply created a image based on my Docker file, and Docker
Yeah,
file
you
is
are
contained
creating an image.
image. See, there is one more extension to this one. Just wait for 5 minutes, you will understand. But I want to just close this one.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah. So where we are? We are in this. Okay, the image is created. Let me. Kubernetes is also created. Right? It's also completed. It's up and running. Now, the next step is that. Where is this? Yeah. Let me go ahead and create a release pipeline. Okay. Create a new release pipeline. Right. So select the option deploy to Kubernetes cluster. Cluster. Close this. And in the artifacts, so we will take it from the Azure Container Registry. This is the option. Okay. Azure Container Registry. It is not fully showing. If you hover it, it will show Azure Container Registry. Connection. Pay as you go. Resource group is dev archive. Container registry ACR 11th November. I have only one container registry, and the repository Docker demo November. Latest version. Take the latest version. Similar, same options what you have in regular code as well. Click and add. I have added now artifact. Now go to stage. You can forget about all these agents. Let it be agent 4. You have one task by default here. That is a kubectl. You kubectl. You call it as a ctl basically. Kubectl. Okay. So here you need to connect your CD pipeline to Kubernetes cluster. Okay, and configure one more task as well. First, let me select the Kubernetes cluster connection. Let me create a new. You will have 3 ways to authenticate your Kubernetes cluster created in the Azure. So I will go by Azure Subscription. It is since I already authenticated, it is trying to show the loading. Otherwise, it will open a Windows, pop up and ask you to give you the user ID and password. It is taking little time loading fast. Should be quick actually. Let me close it and Very slow.
And pop-up is blocked. Just one.
Oh, sorry. Let me save this and restart it. I did not do. I never do the blocking. Probably some updates did that. Let me. See. Yes, thank you. You can see the cluster name AKS 11th member, and inside you have the group resource group name, and you have to select the namespace. You see default and the cube node release, cube node release, cube public, cube system. Whatever is starting with cube are the namespaces for the Kubernetes platform, and default is a default name. What is this namespace? This namespace is nothing but our environment name. Okay, in our regular deployments or in our regular environment, we say dev environment, QA environment, production environment, right? And that we create, that we use it here in the under the stage one, right? Let us say stage one, we call it as a QA. Stage two, we rename it to UAT, etc. Right? Similarly, in the Kubernetes world, we call it as a namespace. Okay, the administrators will go and create the namespaces like this basically. Okay, by default you will have a namespace called default. If you need a additional one, the Kubernetes administrator will go to the Kubernetes dashboard and create the namespaces like dev, QA, etc. based on the naming convention. Okay, let me give you have to use the cluster admin credentials. Let me give some name. I would say AKS November 11 cluster. Same, grant access to all permissions. So only thing you just need to remember is namespace is nothing but your environment name. So always when you are if it is a stage, I mean if you rename this stage one to QA, then use the QA namespace to make it consistent. And I already mentioned there, you can forget about this namespace. In the command, select create. Actually, this is a kubectl create. When you select a command, it will append in the backend. It will be appended with a kubectl basically. You see here kubectl create, and I have to give an argument. What is this? I am going to create a container for my image basically. Okay. For that, I need to give a command. The full command is that. The full command is this. So kubectl create, and then deployment is the keyword, and you have to give a name to the container, that is a demo API, and space hyphen image and the name of the container, sorry, image. I'll delete this and I'll give my image name. So I'm in this container, right? So this is the part I need to take, copy and paste it here. Okay, that's it. And then I have to come to the secret section. Under the secret section, what is this secret? You need this is basically to integrate. Basically, we are giving this image name, right? So where is this image? In our Azure Container Registry. Now you need to make a mechanism for Kubernetes to talk to the container registry and take the or pull the image basically. For that, you need to make an integration here. So that is what secret is nothing but you are providing all the credential to connect your container registry. So since it is Azure Container Registry, use Docker registry. You can see container registry type Azure Container Registry, and then select the subscription. ACR level, and then you have to give some name to the secret level. You can give any name. There is no ASCR. You can give anything. So I'm not going to use any config map. These are the advanced things. Let us say, this is for when you are having any variables in your, web.config kind of stuff. You need to use the config maps basically to take the values from the web.config and replace it with the actual values. The way we did it in the CD pipeline in regular environment. Go to the advanced. So here basically all these commands should be running in the Kubernetes environment, right? So Kubectl is the platform where all the commands will be executed. By default, it is showing the 1.7.0 version, okay? But you always need to run it in the latest version. These commands. So click on this check for latest version. When I check this for option, that what happens when this pipeline is getting executed, it basically downloads the Kubectl platform first inside that wherever it is running basically, and instead of 170, it will download the latest version of Kubectl from the marketplace wherever it is downloading from. That's it. This is important. Okay. I will show you when it is running as well. Okay. That's it here. And now with this Kubectl create command, a container will be created by pulling it from the container registry, and it will be in the AKS cluster basically. But after that, you need to make a mechanism to expose that service to the end user basically. The way, so if it is a virtual machine, what you do, you go and enable the port HTTP 80 and 443, right? Similarly, you need to expose it here to the end users. For that, go ahead and add one more Kubectl task. The same task is added, but the only difference is that the command basically. Our cluster is AKS November 11 cluster. This time I will select a command called expose. Okay, and I need to give the arguments to that command. The arguments is deployment is the keyword, and demo API is the name of the container or pod what you given here. Okay, and then we have to use a load balancer to expose to the end users. So that's the reason -- type load balancer, and you can see -- port 80 -- target port 80. Day before, sorry, let me undo. Day before yesterday, I was telling you how the request comes from browser, and how it will go to your cluster, and how it will go to, from there how it will go to the container. Your container will run on a different one port, and your end user might use a different port actually. But most of the cases what we do, we will make it port 80 or port 443 only, otherwise your URL looks bulky. So this is your browser port, and this is the container port. I explained it in using a diagram in the previous classes. So it will create a load balancer inside the Kubernetes cluster. Okay? And then again you have to use the secrets here, container registry, and then select the subscription. Again you need to select the same thing, and then give the any name basically. SCR, sec, what. You can give the same name as well, because these will be separately stored. Okay. And advanced, here also check for latest version. the Kubectl version basically. Okay, let me save this. Now if I run it, it will fail basically. Okay, but guys, I will show you. I mean, what you do, you directly go and run it. When you create this, it will fail. Once you fail, you need to add some permissions. As I told you, you need to integrate Kubernetes with the ACR because the actual image is in the ACR. So how do you give a permission for Kubernetes to pull it from the Azure Container Registry? So that is what I'm going to show you. Click on your container registry. Okay, ACR 11th November. Go to, so in our Azure DevOps, you use the project settings or organization settings to change the permissions, right? Similarly, here in cloud world, you call it as a IAM, access control management. Be it AWS, be it Azure, be it GCP, I mean Google Cloud, be it any platform, the name is same, access control management, IAM basically. Okay, here you need to add a role. Okay, you will come here, access, check access, role assignments, etc. Here you grant access to this resource. Click on add role assignment. I want to give, so there are many roles here. Okay, you can check this. Okay, I'm going to give ACR push and pull permission to my Kubernetes basically. So select oh, I mean, we will do both basically. Click on this role, next, and from here select managed identity, grant access to, and then click on select members. From the managed identity, if you remember when I selected, when I was doing that Kubernetes authentication, I selected managed identity. Click on this Kubernetes service. I have only one. It is showing me the one, and it now it is showing my cluster name. You see AKS 11th number. Select it. It is here. Selected members. Click on select. Now it is selected. Now I give an access to this cluster, but it is only a pull basically, ACR pull. Let's say review and assign. Now this role is being assigned. So in Azure, this is how you give permissions between your Azure resources. You come to IAM and give access to other resources. Add one more role assignment. This time I will give a push. Next, managed identity. Again, Kubernetes. Select it. Then review and assign. Let me add one more. That is again ACR push. Next, this time select user group and selected service principal. Click on select members. No, sorry, not this one. Click on managed identity only. Select members. From here, so far we were selecting Kubernetes service one, right? Now you say user assigned managed identity. Select this one. So you have pool and cluster agent basically. Select these things as well. Okay. Review and that's it. This is one administrative activity in Azure Cloud basically. Every resource need to give, I mean, need to have some permission set basically. If you want to integrate some service with other service, and you have to go to IAM. So my roles are assigned. If you want to check, you can go and click on the role assignment. See, I given access to my cluster AKS 11th November. AKS 11th November. These are the roles ACR pool. Okay. Now come here. We given the permissions. We set up the CI/CD pipeline as well. Kubectl create, Kubectl expose. All you need to do is, I already saved it. Just go and create a this. Kubectl expose create is completed. Okay. Now, oh, this is also very quick. So when this command is executed, say expose deployment demo API. See, this is the YAML that it generated. Basically, it contains all the information what is mentioned in our in our configuration, and as well as some other additional information what it created. Okay. You will read it. I will explain it later when you have time. Okay. So now a container is created. How do you check it? Basically, okay. Go to your portal. Okay. So go to your Kubernetes cluster, and then you will have a option called services and ingresses. Here the top ones are all Kubernetes related, platform related, and you see our service here, demo API. Okay, how do you access this one? You will access using the external IP what you show here. Okay, so guys, but in real time we will not give IP addresses, because the moment you kill this container and create a new container or give some updates, these IP addresses will change. We have to give basically fully qualified domain name, or you can call it as a domain name service, basically like a URL you need to define. That comes under networking part of your Kubernetes administration. But as I told you, we are only dealing with uh, fundamentals. We cannot go into that depth basically, but still, because I'm not going to delete this one for now. After I will show you how to access. But this is one way to see all the Kubernetes services and all of its operations here. Okay. But there is another way to check all these things as well. Generally people use, I mean, sometimes they use command prompt. Okay. So PowerShell basically. You can go ahead and use the PowerShell from your local laptop, but you need to connect it to Azure Cloud, as I shown earlier in the PowerShell issue area. Now here I can use a Cloud Shell here. Cloud Shell is nothing but integrated PowerShell in the Azure portal. That's it. There is no other difference. That means the administrator need not go to his local laptop to do the PowerShell one. That's why they named it as a Cloud Shell. Next, when you are clicking on this Cloud Shell for the first time, it will give you a prompt saying that, hey, I want to create a storage account for this. Just say yes. That's it. Then it will come here. Okay. So to see the pods, I need to say use the. Let me clear it. Kubectl get pods. This is the command basically to see the pods. Container in Docker terminology, you call it as a container, and in a Kubernetes terminology, you call it as a pod. So when someone is using pod and container, it is interchangeable. Okay, there is no, don't worry about it. So why it is giving me error? Because I did not connect my PowerShell with the Kubernetes cluster. How do I connect it? Simple. You click on the overview here on the cluster. Uh, you will have an option called connect. Click on connect. Then you will get a commands list of commands here. Okay. It is saying, hey, open the Cloud Shell and then run the following commands. Okay. I don't have multiple subscription. That's why I don't use this command. I have only one subscription. But in general, you may see multiple subscription. I will take this second command. What is this? AKS get credentials. Resource group is dev.rg and the name of the cluster. This is the command that we need to use to connect PowerShell to the cluster. Say enter. Now your PowerShell is connected to Kubernetes cluster. Now use some simple commands. Now kubectl check the nodes basically if they are working well or not. We have two nodes right in your cluster. Kubectl get nodes. See, I have two nodes in my agent pool, right? It is automatically named. As I told you, you cannot log in. Okay, they are created 28 minutes ago. Okay, now let's say Kubectl get services. You can say. So these are the services. One is for Kubernetes cluster. Another one is I created the load balancer. Right? You call it as a service here. So service is the mechanism will be used by Kubernetes to expose its services to the external world. So I created a service as part of my expose command, demo API, and this is a load balancer external IP. And you see, this is the concept I explained earlier, right? Uh, Browser port and internal port like that. Okay. Now you can check the ports as well. Kubectl get ports. You see, it is up and running. If I didn't give that role assignment, right, what happens? You will get an issue called, let me show you what issue you will get it. I taken a screenshot for your reference. Where did I kept it? Okay, sorry, it's there. Could be. I'm just forgot where did I keep those things. Images.
Purna, I got to go.
Okay, it's okay. You will get an error, but you give those roles. That's it. It will work. Now let me access it. Just give me 2 seconds. You will be
Yeah.
done. Okay, go to your services. Where is this? Services and indices. You need this IP address basically. Demo API. What I do? You can first click this. It will open in a browser. But you need to give the API name. I know the API name from the Visual Studio, right? Our API name is weather forecast. So this is the output. If you go to the Visual Studio, how do I know? Go here, go to your project. This is known to the developers. Okay, you don't need to worry. And how do you want to check? If you want to check in the Visual Studio, when you run it, it will open it in the browser, right? It will show the API name. That is basically most of the times the name of the class name. Basically. Weather forecast. This is the class name. If I run it normally, uh, let me run it IAS. Click this. I'm not running in Docker now because Docker is not running because of memory issue on my local laptop. Just 2 minutes. It opens and you see that. You see the root URL and this is a weather forecast. This is the API name because I have only one API in my local. And that's what I used. You see it, right? And that's what you see here. And you take it that IP from here and append that API name. That's it. Okay, this is your Kubernetes dashboard. Okay, Sahul, you can continue, but I'll take another few minutes to explain some of it. Okay, continuation to this one. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Guys, this is the Kubernetes dashboard information. You see all the data, what is related to your Kubernetes here. Namespaces, workloads, okay, and administration, and node pools, Okay, so before till Kubernetes version 1.15.11 etc., we used to open this dashboard in a different window basically, like in another browser. Okay, but due to some security issues, Microsoft and other companies found security issues in the Kubernetes dashboard. If you open it in a separate, browser basically, separate tab. That's why they included all those, they embedded all that Kubernetes dashboard into the Azure portal itself, basically. Okay, let me show you from which version they had the problem. They identified an issue. Okay, okay. So no support for Kubernetes dashboard in AKS from 1.18 version onwards. Okay, you can refer to this, link basically. Why they removed that. So, but they're continuing their support for the older versions of Kubernetes. Let us say I might have created my Kubernetes cluster some 6 months ago, which could be 1.14 or 15 etc. So I still need that Kubernetes dashboard. So, but what Microsoft will tell you, this is your risk. Either you upgrade to the latest version of Kubernetes, or you live with the issue that you have. So, if you are using the older version of Kubernetes, you have to use this troubleshooting methods basically. Microsoft given this one. Okay, if you are using the latest version, all that Kubernetes is available inside your portal itself.
Right,
Okay.
yes,
Yeah.
1.18 version and above means it's not it's available
I'll
for
give
the
you
new
this
version.
link. I'm giving this link here. You can take it. Sorry, that's a command. Okay, guys. That's how you basically create an image and then push it to the Kubernetes. But as I said, this is a one image, and we did not talk about networking concepts, etc., etc. But this is how your CI/CD pipeline looks like without any advanced task inside that one. But still, you are able to access your application. But if anything have to be changed in your, some variables, etc., you need to use config maps, etc. I just would like to give you, since this is not in-depth session for Kubernetes, these are the concepts that you need to learn for the Kubernetes administration. I will share this, index with you guys. Okay. Uh, Overview, anyways, it says container orchestration, architecture you need to know. Uh, how do you use Kubernetes local environment? Okay, and then you need to learn in depth about networking. Okay, you need to know about the deployments what we created just now. You need to know a little bit about microservice architecture and the core concepts about manual scheduling, you know, uh, life cycle of your pods and nodes. Okay, and then how do you implement monitoring for your Kubernetes cluster? So these are all the concepts that you need to learn basically. I will share this, document with you in the B drive. You can go and follow this one for your reference if you are learning later in that.
Okay,
Okay. So if you learn this one, because I created it separately for you, for you guys basically, step by step, concept by concept. Okay. You see, there are many areas that have to be. Okay.
sure.
Yeah. So, guys, we have another two sessions. We'll cover Azure ARM templates tomorrow, and in one more session, I want to explain you some real-time concepts. All the technical things, but there are some concepts which people talk about basically. We'll talk about them on day after tomorrow. Okay.
Okay,
So, thank you. I did not upload yesterday recording. I do it today. Okay.
yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Okay, Wanda, thank you.